Hello again, and welcome to another edition of CropLife Retail Week Remote Style. It's again Paul and Eric coming from the wild suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, and bringing you all the news that's fit, at least in whatever's going on out there. And we're gleaning. I know we're both having lots of conversations, in preparation, especially for the CropLife event that we're planning to do at the end of October, our PACE Executive Forum. That's been the last couple of weeks. It's great to be able to find people in town and kind of in their offices so they can talk about some of the things they'd like to see there and some of the things we should cover content-wise. It's quite a bit of speculation about what we might be seeing happening after COVID. I think that's what everyone wants to talk about is what are we going to see on the other side of this? What's kind of the new normal, or will we go back to what baseline will we go back to? I don't know. You're probably hearing the same thing, huh, Eric?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it sounds like a lot of the retailers are, they're indicating that they're very busy in the field. Although I was kind of surprised because I was checking some of the numbers regarding planting, plantings across the U.S. and it looks like we're still in the single digits at this point. As of like April 20th, we got 7% of the corn in the ground and only 2% of the soybean in the ground. So I guess temperatures are maybe working against folks, but the retailers I've talked to said their guys are working like 20-hour days and keeping really, really busy. So business as usual for our folks mostly.
Yeah, and some of the folks that have planted early, I saw a couple of Twitter pictures of guys that pulled corn seeds out of the ground that had been in the ground for 2 weeks, and they were slightly swollen, and some of the coating had come off, but they hadn't really germinated, even in the least bit. So, as there was concern about that, about the temperatures, and I think people holding on to the seed rather than putting it in the ground. You never know. It's a roll of the dice. Things can change so fast, but it might have been the best call. Who knows? There's agronomic arguments to be made on all sides, and no one's knows who the winner is until we get to the end, for better or for worse. So, what else is going on, sir? Sorry,
I was going to say, based on USDA numbers, I mean, it sounds like even with a little bit of a slower start to the season, if 97 million acres of corn actually end up in the ground like they were projecting a month ago or so, that we're going to see bushel yields that are as high as they've ever been in history. 15.6 billion bushels total will be the end harvest, which of course will make the carryover as large as it's been since like the 1980s. So probably won't be good news for corn prices moving into 2021.
Yep, yet to be seen, of course. Ethanol is not a friend in that. I know you were going to talk a little bit about ethanol. Do you want to get into that first?
Well, yeah, I can talk about the fact that right now the projections are ethanol's business for 2020 is going to be down about $10 billion from 2019 in terms of revenue for the folks who actually make ethanol, and that they were saying that for the week just passed that consumption of ethanol is down more than 50%, of course, because with COVID-19 in the marketplace, most people are not driving. And I know we saw earlier this week a situation where oil prices were in the negative territory, which has never happened before. So when it comes to energy to move cars around, just not much demand right now.
Yeah, almost makes you want to go in a car and drive to California and back just to do it. It's like
See you, Paul.
Thanks a lot.
I have not had that desire, I must admit.
Just to say you did it, my brother used to brag. He did a couple of drives to the coast and back, and said it was a great experience. But no, that's completely off the path. But I never thought I'd see a time when a gallon of gas would be cheaper than a gallon of milk. But that's kind of where we are right now. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, I was saying, the station by me, I think, was $1.39 yesterday when I happened to run out to go get some supplies. Mm-hmm. I suspect you're in the ballpark there in Lakewood as well.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. Of course, neither of those facts bode well for agriculture overall, but I guess we'll see what happens here later in the year as we get through this and see if this oil price thing rights itself, although it doesn't seem very likely at this point.
No.
So what else? So I know so we were talking earlier about glyphosate and possibly an industry group of industry groups getting together and making some noise about that.
Yeah, EPA had approved glyphosate for re-registration for 2020, and I guess there's a group called the Rural Coalition that has now filed a lawsuit against EPA's re-registration, saying basically that they don't agree with it, but as you might imagine, trade groups and associations that we are friends with are stepping up to the plate to defend glyphosate, and that includes most of the grower groups and our friends at the Agricultural Retailers Association. So we had Darren Kopic actually released a statement saying that the association supports the sound science behind the decision to re-register glyphosate, and they will continue to defend glyphosate in order to ensure that the product's available for future use. So, like I say, associations at this point are stepping in on behalf of glyphosate to make sure that it does not disappear as a herbicide tool for growers moving into 2020 and 2021.
Well, good deal. It's hopefully it makes a difference. It's hard to see. It's been hard to see a bright light at the end of the tunnel with this whole thing, with all the lawsuits. But hopefully we can continue to hold on to this chemistry and keep it working in ag for us.
Yeah, actually, if there's a bright side to COVID-19 being on the scene, it's the fact that, from as far as I can tell, courts are sort of all adjourned, so there are no lawsuits moving forward at this point. Everything may be filed, but that's as far as it's going at the moment. So,
you bet. So, did you have one more thing?
Yeah, I was just want to shamelessly plug that next week on April 29th, we are going to be having a webinar on the state of the industry. Of course, we'll be looking at COVID-19 and its impact on agriculture, plus other topics as well, including probably glyphosate litigation and technology and other such topics. So if you're interested, there's still time to sign up. So please go to the website address on your screen, and we'll look forward to hosting you next Wednesday to take part in this.
Absolutely, and hot off the presses, we're again this webinar and has become that, and certainly conversations we're having really related to where we're going to be on the back end of this pandemic, and one of the things we're looking at very carefully is global agrochemicals. So we have a webinar coming up on May 27th. It's going to be focused on, I guess, the state of and factors moving forward in the global agrochemical business. And it's May 27th. It's 1 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Eastern. It's a webinar by a gentleman named Jim DeLisi, who is extremely up on what on the total crop protection industry and what's happening with products and tariffs and COVID and everything else kind of wrapped into one. And he generally does a presentation that lasts maybe about 20 minutes, and then he takes 30 to 35 minutes of just questions from the audience. So it's a great opportunity. And I think the last webinar we've done a total of, I think 3 others with him. This is the 3rd or 4th at this point. He was able to answer upwards of 30 to 35 questions about what was going on in the marketplace, very specific questions, and he does his best to get you straight answers. And he's not affiliated with any crop protection companies, so he's liable to come out and give you the most honest answer that you could possibly want. So again, as we seek to get answers on what's happening with the global with everything around the world in agriculture post-COVID, we encourage you to tune into that, and we're looking forward to what Jim has to say.
Yeah, it sounds good. I know I listened in on the session you and him did, I think it was about a year ago now, on trade and the whole U.S.-China dispute. That was the big topic at the time, and this will be a nice follow-up to that. Absolutely. Well, I think that's it. Have you got anything else, sir? No, I don't. Just say hi to all our friends out there working remotely, and obviously drop us a line because we're lonely.
Well, I have my bird, my fish here, so and, no, he actually is. Yes, we're quite lonely when it comes to work. So please do, keep in touch with us. We'll if we reach out and call, we'd love to shoot the breeze with you for a while and find out a little bit more about how you're managing through this and what your plans might be for this fall. So please do engage us in conversation. And with that, we'll wrap up this edition of CropLife Retail Week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next week. If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comment section below.
Your feedback is important to us. We'll try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode.
And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.